Have you ever heard that you're only as good as the company you keep? Well, y'all, when it comes to elk hunting partners, that statement is a direct bullseye. A solid and reliable elk hunting partner or partners, well, there's somebody you can ride the river with. On today's episode, we'll share stories, thoughts, and tips on choosing an elk hunting partner and what makes a great and even not so great hunting partner. As well as we'll tell a few stories about the people that we've hunted with. We'll withhold some names to protect the innocent. We'll also answer some readers' questions and give our ElkBros Shout-outs this week. So, my friends, pull up a chair, adjust your volume just right, and welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your hosts Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Gilly. You want to hunt elk, and they live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back. If it's your first time with us, glad to have you. Hope you enjoy the show. And for those blue-collar hunters following our show, welcome back to Elk Camp. I'm Gilbert Ornelas coming to you from Spring, Texas, and joining me are your elk hunting coaches, Chav and Joe. Y'all know what's next, guys. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, bud, man.
It's shout-out time.
Shout-out time.
Absolutely. If you're new to the show, these shout-outs are just a few cities and listeners that are topping our charts this week. Joe, I'm going to let you kick it off, brother.
All right, man. It's so cool because we go and we look at these and it's all these different names. And, man, Pennsylvania's starting to light it up. All these people in Minnesota, and I'm seeing Connecticut and, oh, man, the foreign countries up in Canada and stuff. So cool. So let's kick it off. Oh,
absolutely.
Before I do that, though, last time, I don't know if it was the last podcast or the one before that, we were talking about Dubuque, Iowa, right?
Dubuque, Iowa. That's
Dubuque,
right.
Iowa. And we were talking about the Trappistine caramel.
That's right.
Yeah, well,
man, how'd you get hold to some, Joe?
Son of a
good
gun,
buddies
man.
from the South.
I come home and I've got a package at the house, man, of Trappistine Nun caramels from one Gilbert Ornelas. And let me tell you, I go, man, have you tried these? He's like, no, I sent them to you. So
we let Joe do the taste testing.
Yeah, I'm the one gaining the weight here, man. So I got to put the extra running in. But we're going to bring something to elk camp for you, buddy. We're going to make you. we'll
That's
get
fantastic.
Even with that. But let me tell you. So the Trappistine Nun caramels are legit.
That's awesome, man.
They are the bomb, man. I was like, well,
I've tried.
What's that?
Right. How many of y'all eating them all, Joe?
Well, all the dark chocolates are gone.
That's my favorite too. Man, those cats from up there called me on the phone and they're like, we're in Iowa. I said, yes, sir. They're like, yeah, it's 95 degrees up here. If we send those caramels, it's going to be like, they're going to melt. I said,
right.
Well, heck, where I'm from, we put some dry ice with it. And they're like, oh, we could do the cold packs, but it's going to be extra. I said, I don't care how much it costs. You send them to Joe.
That was cool, man. Oh, thank you, bud. Thank you very much.
They weren't all melted when you got them, huh, Joe?
Oh, no, they're solid as a rock.
They look intact, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're pretty intact.
Oh, man, they're legit. They really are legit. So you guys, man, got to get you some Trappistine Nun caramels.
Exactly.
All right, so top of the chart this week. This city is home to the burial grounds of his brother, Israel, along with Squire and Sarah, the parents of Daniel Boone. I always thought he was a Kentucky boy, but this guy grew up in Mockville, North Carolina.
Oh, man.
Mockville, North Carolina.
Daniel Boone
Shout out.
North Carolina. Wow, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's where we get all them hunting skills from, right there. Yeah.
Well, when I first started reading about this next city, I was thinking Wisconsin or Minnesota, but known as the City of Bridges because it has 446 bridges, which is more than Venice, Italy, or any other city in the world has. A blue collar shout out to a blue collar city, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yes,
Pittsburgh.
sir.
Yes,
Spend
sir.
a lot of time in that city. Yep, and the oil field's booming there. It has been for the last few years. Yep, spend a lot of time there in Uniontown and in Pittsburgh and surrounding cities there in West Virginia.
So I think I've heard people talk about predictions, and that the elk herd there in Pennsylvania, not Pittsburgh, but in Pennsylvania, the one in Kentucky, those herds there just have prime conditions for really turning out some big elk. It's going to be interesting to see what, those guys aren't going to be traveling west here before too long. Yeah,
those herds in Kentucky and Pennsylvania, those are really coveted tags too to get.
Yes, they are.
But I've got a friend of mine that's going to be elk hunting with this year. That's going to be elk hunting with us this year. Brendan Houlihan. He's from Pennsylvania. Went to Penn State, and I believe he puts in every year for that tag. He hasn't drawn it yet, but that place is. The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation has done a fantastic job reintroducing the Rocky Mountain elk in that region, and we got a lot of thanks to give.
Well, I think there's only like 70,000 applications for like 400 tags. So
exactly, yeah.
Boy, that's
them bulls are big. I've seen a few shows where those bulls are really beautiful, and they got great habitat there for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't have the predators. You got the habitat. You don't have the hard winters. You know.
No wolves.
Yeah, no wolves.
Yeah. We got some black bears and coyotes like we do kind of in New Mexico, but they don't have the grizzlies or the wolves.
Cougars, right.
Mm-hmm.
You're up next, bro.
Well, next is described as stunningly beautiful, located on the Tippecanoe River. You'll want to stop by Tippy's for a slice of pizza and cold beer in Winamac, Indiana.
Winamac, Indiana. In the house. Thank you guys for watching, man.
And I hope I pronounced that right, Tippecanoe. I don't know if that's right.
Yes, Tippecanoe.
Yeah, Tippecanoe and Tyler too.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Located just 2.5 hours from the Canadian border and located in the lush valley of the St. Joe's River, this city is known as the hidden jewel of the Gem State, St. Mary's, Idaho.
St. Mary's. And
getting a lot of people from Idaho.
Yeah, a lot of people from Idaho. Yeah. Hello, Idaho, man. Idaho, Washington, Oregon. It's so cool, all these guys that are checking out the podcast. And last but not least, the home to the world's largest annual gathering of twins. Their Twin Days Festival has been taking place since 1976. Twinsburg, Ohio. Twinsburg, by the way, Twinsburg, Ohio. They have a huge festival, and it's for twins, triplets, they celebrate the uniqueness of multiple births. And for any of you twins out there, any of you multiple birth families out there, it doesn't matter if there's 8 of you. August 2nd through the 4th. August 2nd through the 4th there in Twinsburg, Ohio.
Twinsburg, Ohio. Man, we appreciate all our listeners. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and review. It's really how we keep things rolling here. You got to go to Apple Podcast to help us and rate and review on iTunes,
right?
To review, and then check out our elk hunting content at ElkBros.com.
Yeah, we got stories on there, links to all of our videos and stuff like that. So check it out. And when you go on there, go ahead and join our elk camp. That way we can make sure you get announcements that keep you in the know on when things are coming out.
You bet. And any other questions that you might want to send us, just send it to info, that's INFO, at ElkBros.com.
Let's move on. Let's move on to what our main topic is today. And talking about hunting partners. And, I think this is something that all 3 of us can talk about as far as our hunting partners, those people that we ride with or have ridden the river with. And, in doing that, I think we'll be able to kind of pull out some of those qualities of a hunting partner.
Well, first of all, you want a partner that's willing to get out there and do the fair chase. And you want somebody that's been working out, so he's in relatively good shape, because it's pretty tough out there.
Round is a shape.
Yeah, we're all getting there.
No doubt.
Yeah, so that's real important. But of course, attitude and personality go a long way. You can just about hunt with anybody if the personality's there. Positive energy. You don't want a lot of negative energy out there. And someone that's not afraid to stay out there the whole day if you have to. There's a lot of walking involved. And sometimes you'll hit them right away, and sometimes it'll take 2-3 days before you get before you even spot one. So that's important, perseverance, getting out there and just hunting. It can be work, but it's fun. Somebody that enjoys themselves in the outdoor. And I've been lucky. I got 2 good ones.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, I've been so lucky to have you guys. It's been 10 years now. It'll be the 10th season that I've been able to hunt with Joe or Chav, and the last few years I've hunted a lot with Chav. And you can't ask for a better hunting partner. A guy that's so knowledgeable, that you can learn from. They were these guys were teachers the whole time. It was like having an elk coach at your side. So, yeah, I couldn't thank you guys enough. And look, there's many other guys before us too. I mean, the R.C. Knox of the world, Kent Miller, Ross Miller, Carl Gamage. I mean, those are the guys that I've rode the river with, And look, I'll be real honest. The guys that I brought to elk camp with me, our Venezuelan mafia brothers, they're some of the best men you'll ever meet.
Right.
And like Chav said, a lot of it has to do is if your personalities and your attitudes and your thought processes and your philosophies and your ethics all match up. If they don't, you're going to have issues. So, it's just, I hate to say it, but it's almost like, I think you said it, Gilbert, some of your partners kind of like marriages, man. I mean, if you don't have those similar likes, dislikes, and a chemistry, then it's not going to happen, and that doesn't mean you have to agree on everything. You take a look at our elk camp. We're all of different nationalities. We're all different political beliefs. We're different religions.
Amen.
And but yet we're very tolerant and accepting and have great conversations. And elk camp is a pretty special place. And if you have people that are willing to share and people that are real willing to work for each other and care about what they do, care about these animals. And now I'm kind of going into our thought processes, and this is how we think about stuff. But, you've brought guys in to elk camp, so we've had different guys that have come in at different times. And I always evaluate them immediately. And, I watch, I look, Coach, I listen. Joe. Yeah. And, are these somebody that I want to spend time with, or I want them to come back, And we've been very fortunate that we've had some terrific people, because you're not going to find, you take a look at Luis and Manano, who guys, everybody he refers to as our Venezuelan mafia. These guys are they are so passionate and so grateful to be out there in the elk woods and to have the opportunity to share experiences that they're positive.
I don't want to sound sappy, but it's almost a love, that you have.
Well, it is
a kinship between sportsmen,
Right.
And these guys share that same passion and that same love of the outdoors, whether it be their faith in God, and their faith in, their faith in their partners, as well. I look for good people, Joe. I'm of the cut that Carl Gamage made a long time ago, that he don't do buttholes.
No,
right?
yeah.
And Carl didn't do that.
No,
you
we
know,
don't.
and if you brought one to camp, you probably wasn't going to stay. You was going to be escorted to the gate.
That's right.
But and I've never brought a guy like that. I don't think I've ever brought a guy to elk camp. Well, I know I haven't ever brought a guy to elk camp that wasn't invited back, right? Or they didn't have an opportunity to come back. Some of them have not come back because of other reasons. They just, you know, they were traveling or whatever it may be, or we're trying to let somebody else come in. It's a pretty tight-knit group, you know. Last year we had Trey Kistler with us from Kistler Rods, one of my really, really close friends, and he had some awesome opportunities last year, had a great time. You know, he's building a business, so he's busy this year. He's not able to come, and so we're going to have a returning guy come with us, Brendan Houlihan, who I've hunted with many, many years in the whitetail woods, and we've killed some cougars together. And I mean, we've rode the river together, and I trust this guy. And he's a guy I'd like to have in elk camp. You know.
Yeah, we're looking for people that, honestly, that they want to share in the work. They want to share in the wealth. They're unselfish. They believe in a group effort because it's all about a group. You know, when we do things, we do it as a family. Yeah. When we refer to people as brother, there's a reason for that. So those type of qualities we're looking for is people. You don't have to be the best at everything. You just got to want to put out effort. You want to, you know, get excited about what you're doing, be passionate, have that energy. Yeah. And, you know, you guys see, you can see me. I'm the loud mouth. I'm the real aggressive. I'm the one that's out there. You know, Chav doesn't say a whole lot. You know,
don't have to.
He doesn't have to. He does things with action. Example. And like Manano says, you know, when Chav talks, it's like the Chavis wisdom that comes out. You know, when that
it's
does.
Like E.F. Hutton.
Yeah, but
I'm showing my age there.
But yet we've been hunting together for 30-some years. We have enjoyed the hard times. We've put in all the work. I'm big and he's about half my size, but he puts in twice the work with everything that we do. And when I see that makes me want to have somebody like that with me. And I know how much he cares. We have the same thought processes, and shoot, he knows what I'm going to do a lot of times before I do it. So
I couldn't look past this past year in everybody helping me. You know, I killed that bull in the evening. We knew the bull was down. We decided to back out and come and eat and gathered our troops. Everybody was willing to come and help, right? And I mean, Chad did more work than anybody, right? We butchered that elk and made it all in one trip because Chav was going to make 2 trips, right? I couldn't be more happy with guys like that. You know, had somebody that said, "Oh, well, that ain't my bull. I'm staying in camp." Well, that wouldn't have been too cool. We're keen on helping everybody, you know.
Yeah, and that's just the thing is, and you know, things that. What about the things that will make a hunting partner like a one-time deal? And I can tell you, you know, like you said, Gilbert, we don't do buttholes, man. And you know, somebody wants to act like a jerk and you know, get selfish, and somebody that it's about me and mine, and you know, that's you know, lazy, inconsiderate, doesn't think about the people around them. Those types of things for me, you know, those are deal breakers, you know, people that, you know, that break the bro code, man, and don't treat other people like they want to be treated. And, you know, if I have people that, you know, I'll tell you another thing too, is that one thing that eventually becomes a deal breaker for me is people that, always depend on, me to make their decisions for them. I like people to grow. I like people to contribute. I want people to get better at what they're doing. You know, I coach people and help people, and I want to see some improvement at that. And I want to see them step out, step forward, make some mistakes, you know, but that's cool. I don't mind mistakes, but, you know, I want to see growth in people, and I want to see them help other people around them to grow. So, how you find a hunting partner?
Well, I mean, you just got to find guys that have that like mindset. I've been very fortunate to work in an industry where I get to call on most of my friends, right? And we get to do things together that we hunt and we fish and we travel the world together working, right? So in the spare time, most of my clients are my friends. And at the end of the day, we get to do those things together. And so we've made a friendship, number one. And these guys are just as passionate about what I like to do. And same thing with them. Most of the guys that I've had elk hunting with me have been bow hunters of some sort, us Texas guys, but they've never gotten to come and hunt a Rocky Mountain bull elk. And when they do, I mean, it's like, if you give them that first piece of crack for free, they coming back. So I tell them all the time, we'll give you the first piece for free, because I'm telling you, it changes their lives. I mean, these guys that Pat Salvo, Jeremy Christopherson, Jacob Langley, Steve Tucker, the big bad Canadian, right? I mean, this cat, Tucker's just a workhorse. He's in for anything, Luis Gonzalez, Manano Gatron, I mean, Ken McCorkle. I mean, these guys are the guys I ride the river with every day,
Right. And, I want
Brendan
to tell
Houlihan. So,
when you also, if you are somebody that's passionate about hunting and you start, and you're out there and you meet somebody, you can meet somebody in the woods and have a conversation and then go back to their camp. Maybe they're in a single camp, and, you can kind of find out about people out there that are doing the things you're doing. And we met somebody that ended up hunting with us, antelope hunting for a few years, that became a really good friend that way. Found him out in the woods and gave him some water and some food. And next thing you know, man, we couldn't get rid of him, but it was awesome, and, even if you're out, like you said, Gilbert, in your daily grind, and you meet somebody and you strike up a conversation about hunting, and that person shows some excitement, some passion, we'll encourage that.
Absolutely.
If you don't have a partner, kind of feel out, say, why don't you try, I'm going to a shoot, and maybe you could do some of that together. And it's kind of a process where you get to know that person and make plans to go on a hunt together. If it didn't work out that year, fine, man, you're not out nothing. You got to hunt in that year, and you had some experience with that person, and maybe it's time to try somebody else. And but I think the thing to do the most is to have conversations, spend some time with people, get to know them in different ways, and it can end up, I mean, some of the best friends that we have are people that live hours and hours away from us, that we spend more time on.
Exactly.
Yeah. On WhatsApp, we're constantly texting each other and doing things like this. So,
well, I the guys that I've elk hunted with have been guys that some of them I've met in deer camp. I took some gentlemen hunting to the famed Sombrito Ranch here in Texas, South Texas, and I met a young man by the name of Travis Carter. Travis is one of my good friends, and they just so happened owned a big ranch up in northern New Mexico, southern Colorado, and we hooked up, and I brought some clients up there elk hunting, and Travis and those guys run a great place to hunt, and we just become great friends, and he is a big fan of the show. So love
thanks, Travis. We hope you're listening.
Love Travis. I've hunted with him several times, and he's just as good a guy as you could ever meet. I don't hunt with people that I don't love, Joe. I just don't. So I gotta really like you to let you in that part of my world.
Yeah, if you're shaking heads, man, then it's probably not gonna happen. It's just.
I know I've left some guys out. I mean, we love all those guys and look forward to seeing their pictures every year and what they're doing, and if they're joining us in elk camp this year or whatnot. But it's a brotherhood, man.
That's right.
I hear Michael Waddell talking about it on his podcast and on his show and stuff. But it is a brotherhood,
Right.
And I truly believe that. We keep in touch. This has spawned into something for me, you, and Chav and the Venezuelan boys to keep in touch, not just once a year, but
all year long.
Yeah, every week. So
Yeah.
It's been awesome. I can't thank you guys enough, Joe.
Cool. So if you guys have any questions about that, just send them our way, or send us a story about one of your hunting partners, and we'll talk about that, because you're going to hear about a bunch of ours. We got people that are in our life, people that have passed out of our life, that we're going to continue to keep their life going just by sharing their stories.
All right, bud. Well, I guess we'll answer a few questions from our ElkBros mailbox.
Yeah, let's go. Let's answer some of our readers' questions. And we had quite a few that came in, and I had some really good ones. And it's so funny because every time I get a question from somebody, they're like, oh, this may be silly or something like that. And I'm like, man, they're sending some great questions. So I tell you, guys, keep sending them. Keep sending them. We'll read them off. And so the first one is from Darren Gresham. And Darren, I'm going to read his question here. He says, do you use the same calling tactics all the time, regardless of elk population density or bull to cow ratio? He said that he drew an incredible tag in New Mexico on the second archery hunt, and what he read about the unit, that it had a 49 to 100 bull to cow ratio. So he was saying, with that many bulls, should he be aggressive with his calling, or would cow calls be best, or would being even more aggressive be better? So there's a lot of parts to this question, and I want to answer it straight off in one way. Like when you say, do you use the same calling tactics regardless of the elk population? The answer to that question is basically yes. It really doesn't matter what the population density is. When I change my tactics is more according to the time of year. So if it's early rut, if it's peak rut, or if it's late season. And now when you ask the question, with so many bulls, should I still be aggressive with my calling, or would cow calls be best? So this is kind of a trick question in a way, and let me explain why. Yeah, you can definitely be aggressive with your calling, but it depends on what kind of bull you're trying to get in. So if you're out there just trying to get a bull, if you're not worried about, or an elk, if you're not worried about whether it's a cow or it's a raghorn, or if it's a trophy bull up there, then you kind of have to alter your calling for that. And you got to think about this. So there's a whole bunch of bulls to cows here. And if you want to go out there and scare off 80% of those bulls because you're screaming and being aggressive with your calling, then keep being aggressive. Basically, what you're talking about doing is you're just out there ringing the bell and see who's going to answer the call. So, when you have that high of a bull to cow ratio, you can call in a lot of bulls. And if you go out there cow calling, well, you're going to call in, and I always believe it's better to be a lover than a fighter. We talked about this, right? Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So the thing is who or what story are you trying to portray? And if you go out there and there's a bunch of bulls and you just go out screaming challenge bugles out to those bulls, then herd bulls, or a lot of the bulls, are just going to turn tail and run,
and gather their cows and goats.
Yeah. Now you might get one that says, I'm your huckleberry, and is interested in coming in and is feeling his oats and wants to come in and fight. That's great, man. So you can do that. You can go all, doing that screaming and be aggressive. When I talk about being an aggressive hunter, I talk more about being aggressive on my calling, because I do a lot of calling, but you got to be smart about your calling. And it's about moving in on animals. It's about making things happen. It's about making noises in the woods. So if you're going early season, but you're on that second archery hunt, so you're talking peak rut. So now you have bulls that are already cowed up, right? So in that, the story that you want to do is you don't necessarily want to challenge that bull. You want to tell that bull that you have some cows. You want to tell those other bulls that you have cows, and you want to make your story sound like you are a bull with cows. Because in doing that, now instead of bulls thinking that you're just out there to whip everything in the woods, they're going to come in to you to scent check, to check and see, if you have cows, because that's the picture that you're portraying. So when you're doing that, it's a whole lot different deal. That's where those sounds that the bulls make, or things that they do, like ripping up a tree, right? Okay. Or like what we do, Gilbert, Chav, when we use a group to put on a show, to make it sound like there's a bull with cows, there's other bulls interested, and they're starting to come in. Now, if you're by yourself, it's a little bit harder to do, but it can definitely be done. So you need right?
Yeah, you can get pretty wild, calling. I've done that, and sometimes that's as good as anything. But I'm with you, Joe. I think when they're all cowed up like that, you can really have an adverse effect, acting like a big ass herd bull, and just blowing that that bugle tube and acting a fool with it. You can actually make the cows or the bull round those cows up, haul butt up the mountain, right?
Right.
Instead of, if I can actually get the cows to react to me and start coming towards me, and I can get between him and the cows, it's over with.
Well,
right?
and you actually said the exact thing. If it's a herd bull you're after, the only way you can pull that herd bull off is by not talking to him. It's by talking to his cows, making him think that, it's just like anything. You go into a bar, you go in anywhere, and you start talking to a dude's girlfriend. That's a good way to get him fired up. So,
right.
That's how you do that. But you can also sound like a bull and sound like a herd bull that has cows, and do those calls that a herd bull does, so that you get those satellite bulls to come into you. And and it can definitely be done. So
and I think you touched on, it's really more about what he's, if he's wanting to kill a herd bull, it's a little bit different opportunity than just calling in a satellite or a raghorn or even a cow, right? If he's just looking to kill an elk, that's a way different scenario.
But just remember one thing, though. Remember one thing is that herd bull is not the only one that's going to breed his cows. There's other mature bulls around that, what we're calling satellites, that are around that herd that are waiting their turn, basically. So
you bet.
If you're sounding like a bull that has cows with you, that a bull that might have a hot cow with you, then you can get some beautiful mature bulls to come into you to try to scent check the situation or the picture that you're painting. So the fact that there's a good ratio means that you just have more encounters. And right.
And what Joe touched on earlier when he said, don't be afraid to make some noise, that's not just calling, that's moving fast to close the gap, to get close to where you're hearing the bulls and or the cows. So
because they're not going to be silent when they come in either.
Right.
They sound like a herd of elephants coming through there.
Yeah, and the other thing is what I like to do at that time is, once you have a bull calling to you, if you really aren't sure how to escalate the situation, I always like to mimic them and just basically you're staying in the same mode that they are. So when they escalate, you escalate, and it just fires them up. Just imitate them. They chuckle back at them. So it's kind of like that little annoying brother, that you say, you need to go to your room. You need to go to your room. It's like, it fires them up. So,
oh man, I've seen it drive them nuts. They can't handle it. As soon as you start mimicking them, That really aggravates them.
So, Darren, I hope we answered your question on that. We're going to be doing some videos that are going to talk about and actually demonstrate some of those calls that we use in those situations, some of the strategies that we do, because we really have certain things that we do. I do individually, I can make them sound a certain way, but when you have a group, if you have 2-3 guys hunting together, then you can really paint a picture that will bring those bulls into you, and you've got to be smart about how you do it. Oh, isn't it though?
It's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah. So our next question is from Sam Hogan, and Sam said that he hunted the 3rd rifle hunt last year, mostly in wilderness unit, and was able to locate plenty of elk sign from September. So, Sam, I'm imagining when you say that you found some old wallers, that you were finding rubs, that you were finding sign in there in bedding areas, old bedding and stuff like that. That's just what I picture in my mind. And so this year he's going to bow hunt. He says it's a great unit that has lower hunter numbers, much higher success rate in archery, but no wilderness and a lot of roads ATV access. He says that he's very familiar with the mapping remote scouting process, but as far as boots on the ground goes, he's going to go in completely blind. So his question is, he's got 2 units. He's got one wilderness unit that he knows that he saw sign in, and then he has that he's familiar with, and then he has the other unit that has the statistics that shows that it's going to be a good unit. And his question is, do I go with the known or with the statistics? And I've got an opinion on that. I'll let you guys have a shot at that.
What do you think, Chav?
Well, if he saw a lot of sign in that wilderness area, I would think about that. And I'd also look, since he's good at mapping and knows the area as far as his scouting process, he can locate watering holes and whatnot. And because you don't know what the weather's going to be like. I'm not sure where you're hunting. Could be Arizona, could be Colorado, or New Mexico,
Nevada,
or anywhere else in the West. So a lot of it would depend on possibly water during that type of year.
I think this is Colorado, if I remember right.
This is Colorado?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so he has the wilderness area that he hiked into, and then he has this new area that has a lot of roads and ATV access, and it shows that it's got a real high success rate.
I think he's obviously going to start in the lower area and hike up to the wilderness area if that's the plan. But by going through the lower area, he can also look for sign, and there's a possibility that they're there because they tend to be lower at the beginning of the season.
I think his problem is he's got to choose between wilderness or choose between the statistic areas. Like he can't go to both of them.
Oh, so, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. You follow me on that?
Got it.
So he's trying to figure, do I go to that? Do I hike into that wilderness area and where he saw sign from September? He didn't see animals necessarily, but he saw sign. Or does he go to this other areas? He's trying to pick the one that has the high stats.
I wonder how far back he looked as far as the stats. If they're pretty consistent year in and year out, that's a possibility.
I would say you kind of hit something on there too, because there's a couple points here that I want to tell you, Sam. Number one is anytime you hike into the wilderness, you're taking a chance because you're spending a lot of time and energy to get back there into that wilderness. And if you get in there and all your eggs are in that basket, and let's say you hike all the way in and you find people camped in the area or an outfitter camp or something like that, then you're stuck, and I will tell you this too, that and we made the same mistake early in our careers, that a lot of people think when you go into wilderness, you got to go as deep as you can back there to have good elk hunting. And because everybody's thinking that, everybody's doing it, and some of the best places are pretty close to the trailhead, like you were saying,
right? The
lower areas down there. Looking at the other area with ATV access and the high ratio, if it's got that kind of a high ratio there, number one, I'm really looking at that. I'm not sure where you got your ratio from, if it's from a game biologist or if it's like the on hunt apps or something like that. But I would definitely myself, if I have ATV access and I can do night bugling and I can set up different areas, that's a lot like what we have, right, guys?
Right.
Yeah. So to me, that provides me more opportunities. And again, even in that ATV access, a lot of people are going to try to go as deep as they can. And a lot of times they pass a lot of elk. So for me, I'm going for the high ratio. I'm going for, I want as much access and ability to change my situation so that if I have a plan A, B, C, D, and they're not an A, I can go to B. I can hunt B one day and then I can go to C. And, with that many bulls in that area, I'd have to say statistics, bud. And, you were in the area, what happened wilderness-wise, if you came across a lot of competition or not, or didn't. And also, it depends on the experience that you want. If you want something where you're back in there by yourself and you can find a location to put a camp and not see a whole lot of people, then whatever it is that you're trying to get out of your hunt. So that's where I'm at.
Sam, I think you know what you want to do. For me, as an elk hunter or a fisherman or anything, my grandfather taught me a long time ago, you don't leave fish to find fish. So if you know that there's bulls there and it's a really good archery hunting area, and you're very familiar with it, you know what you're getting. When you're going with something new, it's a gamble, right?
Right.
And if you can do a little bit of recon and understanding where maybe they're going to feed and where they're going to water, and bed down, those are some things that will probably help you. For me, if it's harder to get to, I like that better because most people aren't going to want to go there.
Dude, that's Colorado. I got news for you. In Colorado, everybody wants to go back in there.
So, I guess. There are a lot of places that we go that not a lot of people want to get to. Right. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard getting
difficult.
There. Yeah, it's difficult. So, like I said, the difficulty is sometimes your friend. There are a lot of areas that I fish on different reservoirs that most guys don't want to go. Number one, they don't want to scratch their pretty little boat up, or, they don't want to run the risk of knocking their lower unit off because it's real bad. Well, it's real stumpy.
So I need to correct myself on one thing there, Gilbert, in that I kind of was looking at both Sam and Darren, because it was Darren with the high bull cow ratio and it was Sam with the high success rate. And one thing I would tell you, Sam, to do before you make a decision like that, when you see higher success rate, is to do more research on that, because sometimes higher success rate can be in an area where there's not that much public and there's more private, and that kind of boosts that up a little bit, or there's people that just don't have as much access to that. So don't just say it's a high success rate. Really go further, find out from them game biologists and take a look at the area, look on Onyx, find out how much property that you do have to hunt there, and talk to those game wardens, game biologists, and find out, is that happening from outfitters, or is it happening from public hunters? Okay, so I hope we answer your question there.
Yep. Good question.
Next question, Kyle from Windsor, Colorado. We know this boy's in Colorado. So he says that he says in 2019, this is his 5th year going into the elk woods in Colorado. He says every year he gets closer, but he still hasn't been able to seal the deal. So he grew up whitetail hunting in Texas. That's a big part of your problem there, Kyle.
He's got the whitetail curse.
Yeah. From listening to the podcast, he feels like he's made every mistake possible. But, dude, trust me, we all make those. Can you touch more on late season rifle November 13th through 17th strategies? So if you're talking Colorado and you're talking late season, Now you're talking about those bulls. The snow is going to be key for you. Yes, sir. Gilbert's going like this right here, Kyle, because now it's time to really use those binos, get up high, check out those. If there's snow on the ground, the snow is going to be your best friend. These animals are going to follow that snow line. They're going to push down, and then they're going to be looking for feed. Right now, they are really coming out of their holes. This is one of your best times from late November to December to really get a nice mature bull. So they're all starting to bachelor back up again. And right now, Gilbert, you have a saying that they're slave. They're slave to their bellies. Yes, sir.
They're
and this time of year,
bellies.
Man, they are really trying to remember last year.
They're trying to recuperate from that rut too, and put that weight on so they can, they can survive this winter that they're fixing to have to go through.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And you remember how we saw the bulls there in late November.
Yeah.
Man, we were seeing groups of 8, groups of 12, and great areas. They're down lower in those canyons in that grass, trying to feed as much as possible in the morning, going up on the sides, but you can catch them on those sides. You can see them on those sides then. And if there is snow, like a good buddy of mine, Lance Bernal, said, make sure that you're really scanning those southern slopes where that sun hits first and makes it a little bit, makes that snow thinner, and where they can get to that grass easier. And sometimes they'll just bed on those southern slopes and soak in that sun the whole time that they're up there. So my advice to you in that season is to really check those in the morning. You want to check those lower grassy areas at the bottom of those canyons. In those afternoons, those midday, check those southern slopes. And in those afternoons, check them coming out on those southern slopes and moving back down. And they're going to be easier to spot because they're going to be in groups. They're not going to be loners now. But your binos and your spotting scope are your best friend. Okay?
Amen.
So the next question is from James Winters. And Gilbert, he wrote this to you, bud. He said, Gilbert, I drew a unit that has OHV access, the first rifle hunt. As a solo hunter, would you recommend me taking my side-by-side to drive around and try to find hot spots within a mile? Or, and I had a hard time reading this, or from the access road. So I'm not exactly sure what he means on that.
I think he probably meant off from the access road, right? Mm-hmm. So within a mile off of the access road. That's a great question, James. For me, I'm an average round hunter. So walking out of elk camp ain't my passion. So yes, I would suggest it. I mean, if you can, you need to check your local laws and regulations. A lot of these states will only allow you to stay on the 2-track, and you can't get off of it with a ATV or UTV. So yeah, I would. I mean, the closer you can get to those animals, the easier it is for you to pack them out, everything else. So I would not have a problem using my UTV to get to an area and then expand within 5 to 7 miles from wherever you park your vehicle, maybe even more, maybe 8 miles, but you got to really do your homework on your area, which you can do today. Google Maps is unbelievable. You can do all of your pre-scouting just using Google Maps or Onyx,
right?
And you can see all of those places that you're going to need to be off of even a lot of those access roads are on those. So yeah, I would do that, wouldn't you, Joe?
Yeah, well, and definitely, because we're almost to the same situation as what Sam was talking about up there because of the ATV access. And if you take a look at when you're hunting, if that's the first rifle hunt, and if it's a first rifle hunt in one of those states that are actually doing that in September or the 1st of October, now your access is really critical because you can get out there. And what I would do is I would get out there and do some night bugling and go to different locations and just get out there and do some night viewing, because those animals are cranking at that time. So now you can get out there and you can mark your location. Especially, we really urge people to use their cell phone with OnX or to use a GPS of some kind. Mark where you are at when you heard that animal, and travel and see whatever else you can find from high locations, calling down into some of those areas. Because, man, I'm telling you what, that first rifle hunt is unbelievable if it's that September and October 1st hunt. So, as a solo hunter, your ATV is going to become critical to help you packing that animal out. It's going to be critical for you to find location A, location B, location C, and location D, and different ways that you go and trying to locate those animals that are talking and they're going to be screaming. So one of my suggestions for you is that your side-by-side is just your interface to get you to a location. I hope you're working on your calling. Your glassing is not going to be
cardio.
Yes, sir, because you're going to be doing, and you're not going to have to chase as much. Remember, use some of those things that we talked about, like getting on the same level as those animals on a ridge across or up above them where you can see them in the opening, or seeing them on an opposite ridge going up where you got quality shots. So you're really fortunate that you drew a unit that is in the first rifle hunt. That should be a blast. And I'm just telling you. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Joe.
Just use that to find your spot so that you can do a lot of talking and locate those animals.
Yeah, one of the things, James, too, also as a solo hunter, I would urge you to at least try to find a camp around you, somebody that's there that you could report to where you're going to be. Because if you fall and get hurt or something like that, somebody needs to know where you're going to be camped and where you're going to be hunting in that area. And there should be some guys camping around you, or at least you can let your wife know what area you're going to be in. So if something were to happen to you, James, they would at least know where to start to try and start looking for you.
He can also use something like an in-reach as well, or a spot, especially if you're going to be solo. And it's worth that peace of mind for any of your people. And I'm not sure how old you are, and sometimes that doesn't matter, because like we talked about the guy that got lost in Hawaii. This guy was in his 20s, looked like the Rock, right?
Looked like he could get out no matter what.
Yeah, and found him dead. So age doesn't have anything to do with it. Any kind of accident can happen out there. So
yeah, you guys that are just hunting solo, y'all be safe, and give your wife or whomever, your significant other, your kids or whatever, a lat long where you're going to be camping, and they can find you on that lat long pretty easy.
So now we're going to go to Keenan Gibson, and Keenan said he had two questions. He said this coming September, and I'm going to kind of answer this first part pretty quick. He said this coming September, I'm going on my first DIY solo backpack archery hunt. What backpack do you recommend? And we've done backpack hunts years ago. Our style is pretty much doing a base camp and using ATVs to move to other areas, or using a truck to get to another area and hunting from that area. But there's a lot of good backpacks out there that you're going to need, Keenan, that can also haul meat, because we're planning on you being successful. And, I know that there's several companies that make packs that are also meat haulers. And I encourage you, whatever you get, try it on, make sure it fits your body type. And, it is September that you're doing it. So if you're going to be wearing it full time, you want to make sure this quiet for you. So I really don't have a pack that I could recommend for you, but an exact pack. But there's a lot of those that make them, and they come in all different price ranges. You can also just get one that has a real good shelf on it, what we call a hauler shelf. So it's going to be a backpack that's going to have a hauler shelf. But if you get something like that, it's a little more difficult to get your gear out. I tell you what, dude, solo is one of the toughest things that you can do. It's one of the most rewarding things you can do, because it's up to you to do everything. So, you know, you're going to have to get that animal off the mountain. You're going to have to get all your gear off the mountain. So it's an incredible experience, and it's very rewarding once you're done with it, but it will be one of the toughest tests of your body that you've ever gone through. So, second, it says you guys mentioned only shooting fixed broadheads. He says that he shot Muzzy fixed blades, and he's also used the Schwacker expandable, both with success on deer. What type brand of fixed blade do you recommend using? And I know Gilbert's getting ready to yell out something over there, but first of all,
I'll let Chav lead us off.
Okay,
He's got firsthand knowledge of that.
I'll start off, and I'll let I'm shooting same broadhead Gilbert does, so he can tell you what that is later. But I've shot both with success, actually. But you know, I had a chance at a huge 6x6, and my expandable opened prematurely. Probably hit a little twig or something, because I told Gilbert I thought I'd hit something, and one blade opened up, and that just killed all the momentum. So I only got like probably an inch or less than that penetration. And also,
and it was in the 10 ring.
Yeah, it was right near the heart, huh?
In the pocket. I'm talking in the pocket. I actually thought the arrow was hanging out on the opposite side, because the bull took off and run, spun around. There was another bull by him, and I'm watching the arrow dangling out of him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he just smoked this bull. And he was like, oh no, I missed him. I'm like, oh no, you didn't. The arrow's hanging out of him, but he didn't go in but about.
Not much, but I heard something, so I thought it hit something and just deflected. But also when you knock your arrow and you have to walk a short distance, or, you know, let's say 50, 60 yards, when you're stocking up on something, every little sapling, every little weed becomes an obstacle for that expandable blade. Whereas a fixed blade, you know, you won't have any problem with it. So there's a chance that it could open up. So if you're hunting elk and you've been successful with deer using either one, just remember, probably won't get as many chances to kill a big elk as you will a deer.
And it's a whole different critter.
Yeah, so you don't want to waste an opportunity. I'd go with the fixed blade, and Gilbert's got one he can recommend that's pretty deadly, and maybe others.
First of all, there's all kinds of blades that you can use, but do not use an expandable. And this is coming from a guide, is that the whole idea of an expandable and what it's supposed to do by opening up inside an animal and causing a lot of damage inside, that animal is going to die if you get that expandable into that animal. The problem is, our number one goal, and we talk about this in our other podcasts, is we want 2 holes. I want a pass through. And man, you know, you're not going to get that pass through. That's not what they're designed to do. So when it comes to what I do recommend, first of all, I'm going to say this. I'm going to recommend the fixed blade. I like 3-blade. I'm going to recommend the fixed blade that flies best on your setup. And there's so many, and you want something that's cut on contact, and you want something that's going to give you a good size cut on that animal. So with that said, I want you to understand, I'm telling you what flies best with your boat. There's a lot of great broadheads out there. I personally have always used Wasp. I've used the Wasp hammer. I've used Wasp when it was the conical cam lock back in the day. It's just, it was a very solid broadhead for me that was economical at the time. Now it's, you know, it's the same cost as just about any broadhead out there. But I'm telling you, whatever flies best. And I know Gilbert swears by some, and you know, that's something that you can talk 15 different bow hunters and get 15 different answers because they all believe in something that's worked well for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I am very passionate about it because it's been something that I've done for so long. I grew up shooting Muzzy broadheads. I'm not gonna lie. I shot 4
Muzzy's
blades.
a great blade.
I shot their 3 blades. I like them all. The new Muzzy Trocar is one of the best flying fixed blade broadheads out of today's bows, right?
Right.
When we're talking about bows from 10 years, 12 years back, totally different. These bows that are out there today, some of our past guides and outfitters call them nuclear bows, right? I mean, they approach subsonic speeds, and it's amazing when it's inside 20 or 30 yards, guys, really doesn't matter. But
you
when you get
in that
out,
pocket, right?
Yeah, when you get it out 40, 50 yards, the broadhead starts to plane a lot of times. So when we like shooting these little blazer vanes now instead of the long fletching, so if you have to adjust all of that garbage to get to your broadhead to fly the right way that you want it to, I would suggest you shoot several different fixed blades. I am a huge fixed blade fan. I am not a fan of the expandables. I have shot some expandables at deer and had pretty decent luck with it, and hogs. And for me, the wild hog is the litmus test. They're very poor penetrating broadheads, and I shoot a hammer of a bow, 31-inch draw, 72 pounds. So, I mean, I can blow through a Cape Buffalo if I need to. But at the end of the day, the broadhead that I've been shooting was a broadhead that was designed by a guy named Terry Hartcraft out of Fredericksburg, Texas. And it flies the best at distance for me. And it's very, very accurate. And it is a unbelievable penetrating broadhead. Terry sold his company to Pradco, and Pradco has now built the broadhead under the Bloodsport name in the Bloodsport Wraith deep cut. And that's what I shoot, 100 grain, deep cut. The cool thing about that broadhead is blades are sharp on both sides. You can practice with one side, ready to rock and roll, flip the blades over, screw it back down, you're ready to go hunting. And it is a cut-on contact broadhead.
And I want to throw in too, a lot of people are talking about weight forward on a lot of stuff these days about, really creating a hammer with your arrow, really getting that kinetic energy. And, I've been doing that for years, shooting a 125 grain broadhead. So I'm actually adding that weight forward on there. And even though it might hurt a little bit close up, it's giving me more energy downrange. So there's a lot of different ways that you can handle that. But again,
it's all about penetration.
Correct. Remember, you want a blade and you want a setup that is going to give you a pass through. That is your goal. You want 2 holes. When we talk about making tracking easy so that we can take an animal down as quick and as ethical as possible and not lose that animal, the more holes in that body, the better it's going to be for that. So we're going to move on from that question. Keenan?
So the last thing I wanted to say to Keenan is you can't go wrong with Muzzy. You can't go wrong with the shuttle T-lock that was designed for elk hunters. And you can't go wrong with the deep cut Wraith from Bloodsport. If you stick with those 3, shoot all 3 of them, see how you like them. The Muzzy Trocar, and those 3 broadheads will perform for you. One of them you'll like a lot, Keenan, and you'll be very successful with them.
Yep. Just make sure it flies with your setup, whatever you use. And every one of mine have been stung by the wasp, buddy.
Hey, and I love that broadhead. That broadhead's a hammer.
Yes, it is.
I'm telling you, I like it.
Just to remind everybody out there, we didn't rush through these questions. So and a lot of these guys didn't think these were good questions. So if you have a question, please send it in. Just remember, you just send it in to info@elkbros.com. You will get a response. I read every email that comes in. I answer every email that comes in. And most of them we're going to ask you, we'd like to answer it on the show. So
what a great show we had this week. We can't thank you guys enough. From Joe and Chav in New Mexico, I'm Gilbert Ornelas here in Spring, Texas. God bless all our grinders out there. Kiss your wives, and wives, kiss your husbands, hug your babies, keep your broadhead sharp and your powder dry. And we'll see you next week right here on Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
See you guys next time.